Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. August 23rd, 2021, Hillsborough, North Carolina, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 28, Text 3. Ukrushustam apasyanta Krishna Rameti Gopaka Bhagavam Sadupashrucha Pitaram Varunavritam Tadantikam Gato Rajan Swanam Abhayado Vibhu Chukrushuhu. They called out loudly, Tam, him, Nanda, Apashyantaha, not seeing, Krishna, O Krishna, Rama, O Rama, Iti, thus, Gopakaha, the cowherd men, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord Krishna, Tat, that, Upashrucha, hearing, Pitaram, his father, Varuna, by Varuna, Aritam, taken away, Tat, of Varuna, Antikam, to the presence, Gataha, went, Rajan, my dear King Parikshit, Swanam, of his own devotees, Abhaya, of fearlessness, Daha, the giver, Vibhu, the Almighty Lord. BBT translation. O King, not seeing Nanda Maharaj, the cowherd men loudly cried out, O Krishna, O Rama. Lord Krishna heard their cries and understood that his father had been captured by Varuna. Therefore the Almighty Lord, who makes his devotees fearless, went to the court of Varunadeva. BBT purport. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that when Nanda Maharaj went to bathe in the river, he was accompanied by several cowherd men. When Nanda did not come out of the water, they began to cry out, and Lord Krishna immediately came there. Understanding the situation, Shri Krishna entered the water and went to the court of the demigod Varuna, determined to free his father and the other cowherd men from fear of a mere demigod. I'm going to read Sanatana Goswami's Tika. They loudly cried out, Krishna Rama, out of great pain. Spontaneously, they just uttered the names of the Lord. The name Krishna is first because they had special affection for that name, or because of its special power. Or it refers to the two brothers, Krishna and Balaram. The cowherds, Gopakaha, had gone with Nanda to bathe, or were his guards surrounding him on four sides. Krishna heard at close hand the shouting and how Nanda had been taken. This means that Krishna came to the place later, or because of the shouting, Tat, hearing from far off as if it were close, Upashrucha, he entered the water. He had been attracted by the shouting. And it's just always interesting how the Acharyas will sometimes give a variety of different explanations of the same Sanskrit. And this is, of course, using hermeneutical principles, that you have a boundary for explanations. You don't go beyond that boundary, but within that boundary, there's a variety of angles of vision by which one can understand. So going on with Sanatana Goswami's Tika. O King, similarly the Lord gave fearlessness when the elders shouted, as the Brahmastra sent by Asvatthama approached you. Or the Lord shone, Rajan, emitting effulgence because of anger. This is also a series of different ways of explaining. Because he was the sole master of the people of Vraja, Vibhu. Or, though he was all-pervading Vibhu, he came there quickly out of affection. He was Bhagavan, who shows unlimited qualities such as compassion, delivering the people of the world. Though he could by his will alone deliver Nanda from the demon, in order to give benefit to Varuna, by his great mercy, he entered the water on the pretext of delivering Nanda. So Krishna could have delivered Nanda just without going anywhere. But saying, I'm going to deliver Nanda, his actual purpose was to benefit Varuna. Chukrushustam apasyantaha Krishna rameti gopakaha bhagavanstam tad upashruchya pitaram varuna ritam tanantikam gatora jam swanam abhayado vibhu. O king, not seeing Nanda Maharaja, the cowherd men loudly cried out, O Krishna, O Rama! Lord Krishna heard their cries and understood that his father had been captured by Varuna. Therefore, the Almighty Lord, who makes his devotees fearless, went to the court of Varunadev. So I'm going to focus on the last line here. Swanam abhayado vibhu, the great and powerful Lord Vibhu. Swanam, to his own people, Abhaya gives fearlessness. Of course, Srila Prabhupada's name was Abhay Charan, one who has fearlessness at the lotus feet of the Lord. And we would all like to be fearless, yes? So much of material life is based on fearfulness, because the material world is very scary when we identify with this world. Isn't it scary? It's very scary. Right? We're in this body which is extremely fragile. It doesn't take much to make the body injured or sick, isn't it? Some little microscopic virus has put the whole world into a tizzy. Where you just trip and fall and, you break something, and right? Or we heard one of our devotees on the West Coast, she was going from the supermarket to her car, pushing her shopping cart, and a car in the parking lot hit her at a high speed and broke her pelvis, her hips, her legs. It's scary. If we think that we're this body, it's a scary place. And if we think that we're this mind, it's a scary place. Old age, you can lose your mind. We know, there's many of our devotees who in their old age, they don't have their mind anymore. Right? Our god sister, Isha, who's now passed away, she had a stroke, and the only thing she could do was say Hare Krishna. She didn't know anybody. She couldn't speak. Scary. Or we take birth again, and then we forget everything, and it takes us, a couple years before we can say mommy and daddy again. So it's scary. Right? And all of our supports, our money, our home, our family, our connections, our reputation, all of this can be lost in a moment. So we're full of fear. And the reality is that the majority of what we do is based on a desire for security, right? It's one of the needs, isn't it? For security. But security in this world is not possible. They even call, when you put your money in some, you invest your money, they call it a security, right? But is it secure? Your securities? No, it's not like that. So we're always looking for fearlessness. Yes? So when we say the Lord gives fearlessness to his devotee, so many times what people think is that means that the Lord makes sure that nothing bad happens. That's generally what people think. They read this line, oh, the Lord gives fearlessness to his devotee, great deal. I'll become the Lord's devotee, and then, my body won't get sick or injured or die. My mind will be sharp forever. My whole family will love me forever. My money will always be in the bank. My house won't burn down. I won't be in a war, right? Isn't that what people think? Prabhupada talks about in World War II how the women went to church, dear God, please bring back our men, our fathers, our husbands, our son, our brothers, and God didn't, and so they became atheists. And we see this even among the members of our Hare Krishna movement. Oh, my wife divorced me. What is the point? What is the use of God? My husband died, one of my god sisters, her husband died after a long illness from a stroke. And for quite some time, she says, I don't believe in God anymore. Where is he? And we may feel like that, isn't it? I've kept up my end, like it's a mercantile relationship. I've kept up my end of the bargain. I've woken up early. I've chanted my rounds. I've followed the principles. I've taken prasadam. And why did you make this happen to me? We had a contract. Right? Isn't that? We think I've made a contract with God. And it says right here in the Bhagavatam. So what does this mean? We see the calamities happen. They happen even to Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father. Krishna's father, he's going to bathe in the Yamuna. As we were studying the other day, he's bathing in the Yamuna because he's feeling, the Yamuna. If I go bathe in the Yamuna, my bhakti for Krishna will increase. If I follow this Ekadasi, my bhakti for Krishna will increase. Krishna will be so happy. He's not doing this out of following some vidhi. He just wants to please Krishna. And he didn't do anything wrong. He's a Nitya Siddha devotee. How can he do anything wrong? And still he gets kidnapped. By Varuna, who's a demigod, but in this case, Varuna is acting like one of the bad guys, right? You get kidnapped by a bad guy, by the servants of the bad guy. You're just going around doing your duty and some van pulls up and somebody puts a hood over your head and throws you in the van and takes you away. That's what it was like. He's going in the Yamuna and he's just kidnapped. And all the cowherd men, they're like, Krishna, Balaram. And there's so many calamities that happen to devotees. What about the Pandavas? Bhishma, he's on his deathbed and he's just like, I don't understand how this could happen to the Pandavas. First, they lose their father at a young age. Their father dies from a curse that happened because of a mistake. And then they go with their mother back to the kingdom and they're just constantly being assailed by the envy of Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra. Kunti said she felt like a deer surrounded by lions and jackals. Duryodhana tries to poison Bhima, which ends up making Bhima stronger. We'll get to that in a minute. And then they put them in the house of lac and they go into the tunnel and they're hiding. And then they stay with some brahmanas and there's this Bakasura who's going to eat everybody and Bhima fights with him. Right? And he's attacked by Hidimba and ends up kind of having to marry a demoness, which again ends up being a good thing in the long run. But still, any of you want to marry a demoness? And then they go in disguise and win Draupadi, and then they had Drupad's army and his influence, and they go back with Drupad's army and influence and wealth. Okay, here we are, the Pandavas. All right, you can have Indraprastha, which was a desert. And by the grace of Krishna, Indraprastha became like a garden. And then Yudhishthira says, my dear Krishna, I want to do the Rajasuya because that way everyone will see that your devotees are benedicted, that your devotees don't suffer. Krishna says, yes, I approve. But it took a long time. He had to bring his whole retinue, big retinue, 16,108 queens with 10 children each and all their tutors and all their laundry people and all their guards. And, and they're traveling from Dwarka to Indraprastha. And then they have to spend a year getting all the kings to agree. And Jarasandha doesn't agree and they fight with Jarasandha. And then they have this Rajasuya and Yudhishthira is the emperor of the world. Finally. Everything is set to rights. Great devotee Yudhishthira is ruling the whole world. And then, oh, my dear family, we're here to celebrate your Rajasuya. Come play a game with us. And the Pandavas lose everything. Draupadi's attempt is made to make her naked. She's insulted. Duryodhana is like, you sit on my thigh. If you have 5 husbands, you can have 6. And then finally everything's given back, another gambling match, and then they're out in the forest for 13 years, away from parts of their family. Arjuna doesn't get to see, Subhadra doesn't get to see Abhimanyu grow up. Draupadi doesn't get to see her children grow up. They almost get cursed by Durvasa. Draupadi almost gets raped by Kichak. And then finally they come back. Okay, where's our kingdom? I'm not even going to give you as much land as you can stick the head of a pin into. And then there's a war and everybody's killed. All of their children are killed. Even Draupadi's children are killed, as Sanatana Goswami mentions in this purport, by Asvatthama. After the battle, when they're sleeping, and then Asvatthama tries to kill Parikshit. And then the Pandavas rule for 33 years, but ruled with all their children dead. With Bhishma dead, with Drona dead. As Arjuna said, how would we get material enjoyment from winning with our family dead? So these calamities happen to devotees. Calamities happen to Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said to him when Prabhupada was a young man, you're educated young men, go preach in English to English-speaking people. And when Srila Prabhupada took that to heart, he thought, let me make a lot of money. That way I'll be able to do a big preaching mission. Many times people think like that. Before I can preach, I need a lot of money. And so he tried, and he made a very successful business. He made large contributions to various branches of the Gaudiya Math. And then, all of his children but one were married. It was getting time that he could devote himself 100% to that mission. And then the whole business failed, everything failed. And Srila Prabhupada lived for like 9-10 years in, practically speaking, abject poverty. For 4 or 5 years, he didn't even have a base. And he would travel to get donations. He'd travel on the train, and he wouldn't even have the money for the return journey. He was counting paisa. And he comes to America with, practically speaking, nothing. One trunk full of books printed with that time what was Indian standard. Hadn't had an English editor. Spelling, grammar was a little funny. The lines weren't straight. The paper wasn't high quality. The illustration wasn't high quality. And just plays cartels in Tompkins Square Park and gets some counterculture people. Right? And even before that, like there was a time he got the place in Jhansi that was taken by the governor's wife. He got gored by a bull. And Prabhupada was saying, he said, I thought maybe I've made a mistake that Krishna is putting me into these calamities. He said, then I could understand there was something else. So Krishna puts his devotees into calamities. It's not that if we're a good devotee and a good pious person, that Krishna just sprinkles some, magic dust on everything and everything's nice. I remember my stepmother saying to me, why should I be a religious person? You guys suffer like anybody else. What's the point? This is the way most materialistic people think. Right now I'm studying the Vyavichari Bhavs, and it's like, these are all awful. Lamentation, guilt, fatigue. And even the point, Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada, they'll say, yeah, these sound pretty awful. So from an external point of view, it doesn't look like the devotees are in a situation of fearlessness. Now, of course, as we've mentioned in these, there's always something better. Like Srila Prabhupada said, I lost my family of 5 children, but I've gained thousands of children. We're so happy that Srila Prabhupada's plan in Jhansi is a failure, isn't it? We're very thankful. Thank you, Krishna, for making Prabhupada's plan in Jhansi a failure. That pushed him to leave India. That pushed him to come to the West. Whenever Krishna takes something away, he gives something better. Not necessarily externally. It's not like Draupadi's 5 children died and then she got another 10 children. Sometimes what he gives better is internal. Right? And Krishna explains this, that sometimes he takes things away to increase love. Right? In chapter 32, when Krishna is speaking to the gopis, and he's saying, even for those who have prema, I may remove myself to increase their love. Because that's what we all want. We all want a love that's getting better and better and better, isn't it? Isn't that what we want? I mean, that's people's sentimental dream. I'll be in love with someone when I'm 20 and marry them, and when I'm 80, we'll be even more in love. Isn't that right? People talk about, they were 85 and they died holding hands, more in love than they were when they were 20. This is what we desire. Someone asked in our Nectar Devotion class, why is there a need for vibhava? Why is there a need for a stimulus for love when the staibhav, Srila Prabhupada translates as continuous ecstasy? If it's continuous ecstasy, the devotee said, why does it need any kind of stimulant? And I said, because it's dynamic. Love for Krishna is always increasing and increasing and increasing. I mean, even, I'm not even a beginner in bhakti, but even someone like myself, I find my relish from the Shastra, it always increases. Yes, you find this? Our relish from Shastra, from the name, from the devotees, from the prasadam, from serving the deities, it increases. It's dynamic. So this is the real thing that Krishna gives in these calamities. Of course, he may also give something more externally, like he takes from Bali, Indra's planet. And it's so funny. I mean, when Vamandev takes heavenly planets from Bali and he says, I'm giving you a better place than Indra. You really wonder how Indra felt about this, Okay, my younger brother gave me my kingdom back, but wait a minute, he's giving Bali something better, and he's going to stay there forever as Bali's doorkeeper. What's this? So sometimes even externally, one gets something better. Or I'm thinking about Vrikasura. What a funny story. Chitraketu loses his one son he was like, I want a son. He was killing him, but he wanted a son. And he has this son, gets taken away, and then he gets better. He gets to be with instead of all these 10 million women fighting with each other and killing the son, he gets to be with all these Vijayadhara women. He gets to have his women's Sankirtan party all over the universe. And then he gets that taken away. And it appears that he gets this really horrible situation as a demon. But that's his facility, Srila Prabhupada explains, and our Acharyas explains, for going back to Godhead quickly, that the Lord could see that it was going to take him some time as this Vijayadhara traveling Sankirtan party leader. So he got a fast track. And it's so funny because there he is telling Indra, kill me, kill me, kill me, come on. Indra's hesitating. He's like, I don't know if I want to fight you. And Vrikasura Vitrasura is just saying, kill me, because he knows he's going to get something better. So Krishna always gives something better, whether it's externally or whether it's internally. Always. I was thinking about this when a friend of mine in Europe, we correspond regularly. She was saying how a mutual friend of ours, so he was like in between houses. He didn't have any place to live. All he had was his car. His car got in a really bad accident, got smashed to smithereens, and somebody was saying, how can Krishna do this to you? You're such a surrendered devotee. You don't have any home. You don't have any apartment. Now you don't have any car. You don't have anything. And the devotee says, I know Krishna always gives something better than what he takes away. And he did. He ended up giving him a much nicer car and a really nice place to stay with other devotees. But even if he doesn't give something better externally, he always gives something better internally. But we have to look for that. There's such a tendency when Krishna takes away things, when Krishna puts us into calamities, to lose faith. or to be angry at Krishna. The tendency is very strong. But that, of course, is the mood of the Sakama devotees. The Sakama devotees' mood is, I've made a bargain with you, Krishna. I'm worshiping you for something in return. And I expect you to give me fearlessness by adjusting my external situation. And even though such persons are still devotees, it's really a Hiranyakashipu mood. Hiranyakashipu wants to become fearless by trying to control the material energy. Okay, it's not going to be inside, it's not going to be outside, it's not going to be in the land, the sky, the sea, in the day, in the night, by anything living, by anything not living, by any weapon. And this way I'm going to become fearless. And he knows he has to get the benediction of Brahma. He can't do it on his own. So the Sakama devotees are like that. And therefore, hey, you took my offering. And they get angry. They get angry at Krishna. Like I tell the story often of Elie Wiesel, who saw his mother and sisters burned alive in Auschwitz and became an atheist. So this is a tendency. So sometimes we have to look, and sometimes we have to have faith that the calamities are also mercy. The calamities are also loving, that anything Krishna does is loving. This is true in an ultimate sense, even for the non-devotees. But here we're reading Swa, what belongs to him, his own people. Like Jesus said, you're imperfect, but still you take care of your children. Those of us who are parents, we're imperfect. We have so many imperfections, but will we ever intentionally harm our own children? What parent would do that? Right? Or any of us, anyone we love. Think about someone you love in this world. Even though we have so many imperfections and so much selfishness, would we ever harm them intentionally? No. Even a pet. Even, there's like these pet cats here. Someone has a pet cat, a pet dog. Visited an old high school friend when I was on the West Coast. She has pet horses. She says it's very expensive pets. But every day she visits her horses. Make sure they're okay. Make sure they get exercise. Make sure they get food. Make sure they get water. Why wouldn't Krishna do that? And sometimes it doesn't look, when we're a child, sometimes what our parents do doesn't look loving. Take this bitter medicine, isn't it? You can't eat your dessert until you eat your food. You can't steal your brother's toys. And it may appear to us that our parents are inimical. At least, even if we're on a Sakama level, at least we can have faith that Krishna is doing everything for my benefit. But higher than that is to be on a level of devotees like Nanda Maharaj, where we don't really think like that at all. We're not really thinking, is Krishna taking care of me for my benefit? That's just already so much of a given that there's this relationship of love that's not questioned. In the Leela, for Leela, Krishna has gone to another girl or whatever. It's another thing. But the devotees' fearlessness is part of their surrender. That's one of the items of surrender, one of the 6 items, is that Krishna is always the protector of his devotees. And that Krishna likes to protect his devotees, like that story about Yogakshema Vahamyaham, where the 2 boys come and it's like Krishna enjoys protecting, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who says that Krishna enjoys taking care of his devotees. Again, we enjoy, my old high school friend enjoys taking care of her horses. Why wouldn't Krishna enjoy taking care of his devotees? It's pleasurable. Isn't it pleasurable taking care of someone you love? I think it's one of the most pleasurable things in the world, isn't it? Yes. Giving. and caring for and loving. So the devotees are giving Krishna happiness. They're not really thinking, what's Krishna doing for me? What's Krishna doing for me? Is Krishna taking care of me the way I want? Oh, I guess it all has a good purpose and it's all for my benefit and Krishna really loves me. And it's still about me, 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 me. Whereas the surrender devotees like Nanda Maharaj, that's not their mood. Their mood is Krishna. Krishna, your father's gone. What will happen to you? You love your father. So this is the mood of the devotees. Their mood is whatever Krishna wants to do to me, that's okay as long as it brings him happiness. I accept his protection in however he wants to give it and however it feels beneficial, non-beneficial. I will never go anything else like that bird. What's that bird that only takes water from the cloud? Chakora bird. Chakora? I have a friend who always calls him a pakora. So whatever this bird is, the chakora bird, it only drinks from the rain cloud. It wouldn't live very long in Dubai, huh? Not very many rain clouds. It won't take water from any other source. So Krishna's my protector. Not my body, not my mind, not my securities, not my family, not my home, not my... Krishna's, and he can protect me however he wants. Marobi Rakobi Sampade Vipade. It doesn't matter. That not only do I trust him, but it's not even about, it's beyond that. It's beyond just that I trust that he has my best interest in mind, and I trust that whatever he takes away, it's to give me something better and deeper. It's beyond that. It's whatever makes him happy. Because my happiness, swa-artha, my happiness is Krishna's happiness. I don't have some separate happiness that I'm thinking that Krishna's giving me. And that fearlessness is so deep and so broad. It's much more of a fearlessness than the mentality of I can trust Krishna. It's this real yoga. It's this real connection. And once you have fearlessness, then all of these seeming difficulties just become sweet. All of these, from a material point of view, strange emotions that Rupa Goswami is talking about, become sweet because there's this total, solid, deep, dynamic union of fearlessness. So questions, comments, additions, subtractions? Yes, Maharaj. You enjoy your bad dreams from the horror movies? Yes, fear is not only fear, yeah. I'm sorry. Fear is enjoyable. Actually, Krishna gets scared when the cowherd boys tell him they won't play with him anymore if he goes home to eat. Mother Yasoda has to say, Nanda Maharaj won't eat unless you come home. When Radharani won't see him, he gets scared. The fear that we like to enjoy in this world, so you're talking about like a horror movie or a roller coaster. Think about that though for a minute. When you're enjoying the fear of a horror movie, you know it's a horror movie. Not when you were a kid. But there's some sense you know it's a movie. Some sense you know. And when you're on the roller coaster, you know that they've put you in there and that the government has certified that it's safe. So there's some foundation of safety. Once you have a foundation of absolute safety, then fear is just tasty and exhilarating. Of course there is. Yeah, but there's this... Well, he's not thinking like that, but that feeling is always there. It's always there. There's always this foundation of absolute safety, and therefore all these things can be relished fully. So that the foundation of absolute safety retreats in Yogamaya, and therefore they can really just taste the deliciousness of fear without there being any possibility of anybody actually being hurt. And they can go into it fully. Whereas in this world, if it's actually dangerous, then it's not tasty anymore. You know, if you really have somebody kidnap you in a van and put a hood over your head, and then it's actually not tasty anymore. They feel secure because they feel that they're expert and they have a good car and they know what they're doing. They have this sense that I'm secure, I'm okay. Well, that's what gives the exhilaration, but they have this sense that I'm going to be okay. No, therefore materially these emotions are all awful. They're not enjoying. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.